Hello, hello, hello everyone, and welcome back to Fallout 76 for another trip to the Purveyor. We've been doing some legendary crafting the last couple of weeks, but this week I decided maybe we need to pay Mama Mumbles a visit. We don't want to leave her lonely for too long. As always, we'll roll for 3-star legendary weapons. We'll see what makes them good, what makes them bad, talk about what makes them somewhere in between, and of course, see if we can get anything good. Remember, if you like videos like this and you want to see more, do go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. There's always more to come on the channel. Let's get going. And our first roll of the day is basically a non-legendary railway rifle. We've got the Stalker's effect, which is pretty much worthless in my opinion. If you're not in combat, meaning you're hidden in stealth, you get double VATS accuracy at an extra 50% AP cost. Whoopity-doo, who cares about that? Really not very useful, especially on a non-stealthy weapon. Bashing damage increased by 50% is another big old who cares. The only time that effect is useful is on a minigun, which, if all goes according to plan, we'll be spending some time with next week, but totally useless on everything else. In Fallout 76, bashing damage is really weak, so increasing nothing by 50% is still pretty much nothing, so fairly useless effect there. Extra perception will help your VATS accuracy slightly, but if you're built for a weapon like this already, it's not going to be a significant difference. So for all intents and purposes, this is 40 Scrip and nothing more. Let's keep going. And next up, we've got an Executioner's Ultrasite Gatling Laser with faster fire rate and faster movement speed while aiming. So this one, in the current state of the game, is not going to be anything special because energy weapons are woefully underpowered. But if the changes that are currently live on the PTS, it is now the end of January 2022, we're expecting those changes to roll out in March. If those changes go through as we see them now, this will become a much more desirable weapon. Energy damage is going to work a lot better. The Executioner's effect is still going to be really useful on a weapon like this that's fairly low damage per shot. So you got to put a lot of shots on your target, which means you're going to hit it when it's below 40% health and get a good bit of mileage out of that legendary effect. 25% faster fire rate is of course going to help your DPS. That's very good. Faster movement speed while aiming is fairly useless. Most high-level characters are going to be running Speed Demon as a mutation, so you're already moving as fast as you can with that. If you're not running that, then you'll see a little bit of a difference, but really nothing terribly significant. So all in all, good roll, will be a great roll in a couple of months. Next up, we've got an Instigating Hellstorm missile launcher with bashing damage again and faster movement speed while aiming. As far as explosive launcher weapons are concerned, the Hellstorm missile launcher is a very good choice. Unfortunately, the instigating effect is not amazing. You do area damage with a weapon like this, so even if you get additional damage on your first target, it's going to whittle away a little bit of damage on the nearby targets, thereby making the legendary effect not very effective. Bashing damage again, totally worthless. Faster movement speed while aiming, not really going to pay you much here, so there are some people who love instigating still. I'm not one of them, so let's keep going here. Now we've got a Gormands Crossbow with 50% VATS hit chance and 25% less VATS AP cost. So this is kind of an interesting weapon for a mid-level player. Obviously this one's level 45, but if you ended up with something like this in the 30s or something like that, then this could be kind of useful. You've got decent per shot damage. The Gormands effect essentially is a 24% damage buff if you have your hunger and thirst meters all the way up. So it doesn't require any real sacrifices. It's things you're going to be doing anyway. So for those mid-level players, it's a nice little buff that you can do without having a perfect build. VATS hit chance is going to help you hit your targets, hit weak points in VATS, and using less VATS AP cost is definitely going to help here. So it's a good combo of effects for that mid-level character who isn't maybe taking on the big bosses of the game yet. This isn't going to give you enough DPS for that, but for general farming and questing, not a bad choice. Next up, we've got a Ghoul Slayer's Pipe Pistol with the last shot effect and damage resistance while aiming. So extra 50% damage to ghouls. Normally it's a situational effect that I don't love, but for a weapon like this, again, maybe for that player who's leveling up, it can be useful. The pipe pistol isn't a super high damage weapon, but farming ghouls is a good way to get some XP and level up your character. So grabbing something like this in your level 20s to 30s to 40s as you're working your way up could be useful. The last shot effect is a waste of time. You're going to tactically reload this thing so often that you're never going to actually shoot the last round in the magazine, so that's a total waste. 50% or plus 50 rather damage resistance while aiming. I guess it's better than nothing, but not by much. You're not really going to see a ton of mileage out of that. Where this comes in handy is it's a fun little cheap weapon to use to help gain some XP while you're leveling up. Now we've got a 2-shot flamer with limb damage and less VATS AP cost. So this one is maybe interesting. The flamer is already a very good weapon. The way damage resistances calculate against elemental damage like fire is going to change with the next big update, so it should make this even more effective. The 2-shot effect is essentially a 25% damage buff. For something like a rifle, you lose some accuracy, and that kind of hurts. But with something like this, you're up close and personal. Accuracy doesn't matter as much, so that's not a bad thing on this weapon. I'd still prefer to see something like Blood Eater Vampires, but 2-shot isn't bad here. Extra limb damage is going to help cripple your enemies as you attack them. Most of them are going to die before they notice that anything's crippled, but hey, you know, a win's a win, I suppose. Less VATS AP cost. If you're running this outside of a heavy gun build, then maybe that gives you a little bit of mileage, but probably not. Next up, we've got a Hunter's Fat Man. This is not one of my favorite weapons. 50% damage to animals is the Hunter's effect. It's a situational damage effect that is probably the most useless of all of them. It's kind of funny, I guess, if you wanted to run around and kill radstags and Brahmin with this weapon. I guess you could have a little fun doing that, but you don't really need the extra damage with a Fat Man to do that. So yeah, not one of my favorites there. VATS critical hits doing more damage. I guess that's good if you're going to use VATS with it. Breaking 50% slower, that's definitely good. Really, for a Fat Man, they all do a lot of damage, and they're just kind of fun in short bursts. So one that breaks slower or one that weighs 90% less, those are probably your ideal choices as far as legendaries are concerned, because it's a super powerful weapon anyway. So yeah, I'd be happier with 90% reduced weight, but what can you do? Now we've got a combat rifle with the Exterminator's effect, VATS critical hits doing more damage, and 25% less VATS AP cost. So sadly, our Exterminator's effect is here, which is a disappointment because it's, in my opinion at least, the second most useless of the situational damage effects. It gives you 50% more damage to Mirelurks and bugs. Who is carrying around a special weapon just to do extra damage to Mirelurks and bugs? The answer is no one. VATS critical shots doing more damage and 25% less VATS AP cost. Those two pair well together. So you get extra damage on your VATS criticals, you get less VATS AP cost, makes this really easy to use in VATS. So this could be an effective weapon again for that mid-level player who's leveling up. You're not going to keep this for the end game, but you might roll something like this on your mid-level character and be able to make a little bit of use out of it. Next up, we've got an Assassin's Lever Action Rifle with damage to humans, bashing damage increased by 50%, and a VATS critical meter that fills 15% faster. So the Assassin's effect, my third least favorite of the situational damage effects. 50% more damage to humans. Humans are already pretty squishy. If you're using this weapon effectively, you're going to be using it in stealth, you're going to be using it in VATS for headshots, so I don't know that you're really even going to need that extra damage because a non-legendary lever action should be one-shot killing any human NPCs that you want to murder with a lever action rifle already. Bashing damage increased, we've talked about it before, totally worthless on a weapon like this. VATS critical meter filling 15% faster certainly doesn't hurt, but this is probably not the lever action rifle anybody's going to go after. Even for those low to mid-level players who are just leveling up, there just isn't really a super useful combo of effects here, so if you don't have any legendary effects on your lever action rifle, then I guess it's better than that, but not by much. Sadly, we're going to move on and see if we can get lucky again. And we've got 2 rolls left, and this one is almost good. We've got a quad pipe revolver with bashing damage and 50 damage resistance while aiming. So the quad effect on a pipe revolver is pretty useful. The cool thing about a pipe revolver is you can double dip on your perks. It makes it an ideal weapon for that mid-level character, or even, when I say mid-level, that could be someone in the 50s, 60s, 70s who just hasn't perfected their build yet. This is cool because you can double dip on your damage. You can take pistol perks, you can take rifle perks, slap a rifle stock on this, and get some extra damage out of it, and then take advantage of the increased capacity. Unfortunately, we don't have any super useful second or third effects here. Bashing damage is going to be just as worthless as it is on any other weapon. Damage resistance while aiming. If you're free aiming with it, I guess that gives you a little extra help, but not really anything significant. What's going to be useful here is the quad and the fact that you can double dip on those perks. So not a bad roll, but I'd love to see a better second or third star. And now we're going to wrap things up with a Mutant Slayer's Handmade, again with the bashing damage and 25% less VATS AP cost. So here we have a situational damage effect, which we've talked about. Not ideal for a lot of things, but mutant slaying, that's a thing we all engage in. The best XP grinds in the game are killing super mutants, so you can't really go wrong with this. If you're a rifle or a commando build, having something like this in your stash for those situations is good. Here again, if you're a player that's leveling up a character, you don't have a ton of legendary weapons yet, or you don't have your build perfected, this can be super useful. Bashing damage is worthless as always. 25% less VATS AP cost, that's helpful though. So if you are a VATS rifle or commando build and you're working your way up, having something that gives you extra damage to mutants and costs less to use in VATS, well, that's a pretty good thing. So this isn't a worthless roll, it's not a bad roll, not a great endgame roll, but there are certainly players who could take advantage of something like this. And that's gonna do it for today, my friends. Sadly, nothing super exciting on this visit. We did get that Executioner's Fire Rate Ultrasite Gatling Laser, which one day will be a good weapon when it grows up and becomes a real boy, but we've got a couple of months until that happens. I hope you enjoyed yourselves today. As always, if you did, leave a like, leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Twitter. There's always a lot more to come on the channel, and I hope I see you all next time.